Welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today. Joe, it is a snowy, blustery day here in Cincinnati, and the Reds are also cold, frozen for a myriad of different reasons. Reds Fest wrapped up. Couple other crazy things, and yeah, we've got a lot to go over today where we are starting once again our weekly episodes. Joe, I'm excited, intrigued. Yeah, Reds baseball season's right around the corner.
Yeah, nothing better than hearing baseball season's around the corner when you have, over a foot of snow in Cincinnati and shoveling snow. So,
yep.
Happy about that, and hopefully these next couple of weeks, I know we're going to talk about it, but there have been some interesting comments made by the front office, and hopefully we get some even some more enthusiasm for Reds baseball in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, we're going to have to hope that the front office can, alleviate some of our concerns, we'll say. We got a few things we're going to go through today. Joe, as always, we're going to do the question of the day. Reds made 2 trades over the last 2-ish weeks or so since we last recorded. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with FanDuel, MLB.com kind of stuff. Reds Fest had some pretty big news come out of it. There have been interest in some other trades by the Reds for some of their starters, and we've got some new Reds rumors that have been circulating. Before we get any deeper, as always, make sure you guys like and subscribe. We are a weekly Monday podcast throughout Reds season, most of the year. Truthfully, hopefully it'll be through October as well, Joe. That'd be pretty amazing. So make sure you guys don't miss out on that. Let us know in the comment section below the answer to our question of the day. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but should the Reds, or will they, more accurately, trade pitching for a bat? Is that going to finally happen? It's been the rumor for a while. Right around now is the time to do it. So if we're getting up against it, there's still a lot of free agents out there, honestly, too. So I really thought more movement would happen in the last week or so, but I think here over the next couple weeks, things will start to pan out. Let's get into the first things here. Joe, 2 Reds trades were made. Gavin Lux was part of a 3-team trade. This happened when Kyle Tucker was getting signed to the Dodgers. The Dodgers tried to sneak this one under the radar as well, but the Reds ultimately would trade Gavin Lux for Brock Burke to the Angels, which was interesting as well. If you do not know Brock Burke, I do not blame you. He is not a household name, but he is a solid lefty pitcher, relief pitcher. His ERA the last 2 years specifically has been pretty solid. Once he got to LA specifically, he had a good year in Texas as well. Rougher 23, rougher early 24. But then some moves were made, and he's been really solid lately. Last year, a 3.36 ERA. He was able to even save a game. He did give up a few home runs, nothing too crazy though. And he was averaging not a strikeout an inning, but pretty close.
All right, Rob, I think you're frozen for me. I don't know if you're still there.
No, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Your picture's frozen, but okay, yeah. This is a trade that I think a lot like the other trades that we have done. It is good in a vacuum, but it is contingent on us getting more, right? So,
yes.
I love the move by itself. We are shedding salary for Gavin Lux. I'm about $3-something million left after this trade. Just about $3 more million to spend after this. He's a pitcher who won the World Series in 2023 with the Rangers. He did have some rough years with the Rangers, had one good year with the Rangers, and has seemingly gotten things back on track. It is pretty simple for him. When the walks are up, he is a bad pitcher. When the walks are down, he is a good pitcher. If we can keep that control going for him, he is going to be a key asset to this bullpen. And this bullpen, like we said in the last episode, Rob, can be, I think top 10 right now, but I think it has the potential to be even top 5. And if you think about maybe if they get into the playoff contention, maybe they go trade for like an elite reliever, because I don't think we have an elite reliever. I think it's more about just like a group of guys that I think in total is good. But I think this is a great bullpen. but at the expense of a bat. And again, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like Gavin Lux and like the contact and the defense. If we make this trade and that's the only thing we do, we don't go get this bat that we're going to talk about later, then I don't know how much I like this trade. But if it's, hey, this is the trade that's going to set us up to make the trade for a bat too, because we have more money right now, then it's like, yes, this is a very good idea and we should do this. But we could be in a situation, Rob, where after making this trade, we have, Matt McClain doesn't come to fruition. We don't have anyone else to put at second base. We move Sal Stewart, who's been training at first and third, over to second base now. Spencer Steer stays at first. The left field is still a mess with the platoon possibly. So it does make our position players a bit weaker depth-wise, and just having some guy like Gavin Lux is a solid MLB player, and like if Matt McClain plays like he did last year, that could be a huge hit to us. But I do believe that they're trying to get a bat. It's just a matter of how much they're actually trying. So again, love the trade in the vacuum. I do think our bullpen's going to be a lot better now, and if he can keep the walk down, he is going to be a very effective pitcher for us.
Yeah, and I think they've added another lefty to their bullpen, which has been clearly a problem, right? And they go out and they get one that's got a little bit better stuff than somebody like Brent Suter. He's not going to be able to do as much as Brent Suter, but I think with all of the people that they have, this is fine. I think he's the Sam Moll kind of, not even replacement necessarily, but at least he's going to battle Sam Moll for that position. Probably win it, but we'll have to see. But with Caleb Ferguson signing as well, and with Pierce Johnson, the three new additions make this bullpen a lot better. There's almost nobody in the bullpen that's going to have like a 4 ERA from last season, and that's huge for the Reds. I think if everybody is playing at what they've shown, at least over the last 2 years, then the Reds are going to have arguably one of the top 5 bullpens in baseball, Joe, which is a huge thing to say, and they will have, players who can come in and help out. I think this is kind of signifying that they don't feel like Luis May is ready, so he'll probably start down in AAA. You'll still have Big Sugar and Zach Maxwell as well, who I think may not make the club. It'll be between like him and Connor Phillips most likely at this point. But they have really, really solidified their bullpen. They have gone out and gotten some really good guys. I don't know if you saw the story, but Pagan and Pierce Johnson are apparently really close. And basically, Pierce Johnson was like, hey, I don't think I'm getting my contract picked up. Where are you going? Let's play together. And Emilio was like, I'm going to the Reds. They don't know it yet, but I'm coming back to Cincinnati. You should go there too. Which is a really, really cool story. Shows that Pagan is a huge leader for this team. And while our bullpen's going to be a little on the older side, I don't think that's a bad thing. That'll help the younger guys learn from them. That'll help Graham. That'll help Tony. That'll help, the other young guys that I had mentioned earlier. So very happy about this move. But like you said, you are losing a pretty good bat, whether people like it or not. Gavin Lux was, I think, their number one guy average-wise still at least he was amazing in the first half. Second half of the year was definitely a struggle for him. And I think that was just because of, lack of consistent playing time. They tried him out in different, spaces. He was a leader on the team, but I just don't think he had a solidified spot, and I think he probably wanted a change as well. So I figured, the Reds probably just wanted to get him moved. He does go to the Rays, by the way, not to the Angels. I did not mention that. So, there that is. The other quick trade that they did was Yosfer Zulueta. They had to designate him for assignment once they signed Pierce Johnson. They were able to make that deal with the Mariners for Dusty Rivas, who is, by all accounts, interesting at least. I don't know, Joe, how much you know about him, but people were happy that they were able to basically, I saw somebody say that they reset, essentially, what they were getting, because he's just a younger guy. I'm looking at him now. Yeah, he's 22 years old, and I guess has only recently been drafted, from what it looks like, out of Western Carolina. But people seem to think he's got some potential, so we'll see what happens. But, at least I guess they're just taking a shot on somebody and getting something instead of losing him for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and Zuleta is a guy who pitched well in AAA. Just every time he had a chance at the major league level, just did not pitch up to what what the potential was there. Didn't have too many chances to be honest, just the last 2 years. But he's also an older player at this point for a guy who hasn't figured it out. He's 27 last year. I believe he's going to be 28 now. So going into next year, age 28 season with a 5.32 career ERA in the major leagues. Yeah, trade him for a guy. This is definitely a flyer. It's an 11th round pick. He's a 4.5 ERA in college. That spans over his time at Mars Hill and Western Carolina. It was a little bit lower at Western Carolina, which is good to show that growth at a level above. But this is very much a Zuleta probably is never going to have an impact on this team, especially with some of the moves we've made in this offseason to get more arms. And I think this is a move just like, hey, let's see what this kid's got. So maybe we never hear from him, but it's okay to trade Zuleta to get a guy who could end up being something.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm just happy that you always want to get something. Even if it's something small, it's better than nothing. That's always been my opinion on these kinds of things, and so I'm glad that they are making that happen. And we'll have to see, maybe Zuleta is one of the pieces the Mariners needed that we didn't need. So we'll see what happens there. Now we head into, Joe, what I would argue is going to be potentially, maybe the second biggest topic. That's why we rushed through the trades, because this is going to play into the Reds trade rumors as well. We'll get into those in a minute. But basically the report is right now that the FanDuel Sports Network stuff, which is, I guess, technically Main Street Sports. Excuse me. Sorry. Have a little something in my throat right now. But that basically the Reds were one of the 9 teams that terminated their contract. They have somehow gotten out of bankruptcy, Joe. They've made it out of bankruptcy now, and nobody's really sure if the MLB is going to take on the Reds for sure, if the Reds want to take them on, have MLB take them on for their broadcasting rights, or if they're going to try to do it for one more year through FanDuel. But either way, it is affecting our ability, apparently, to sign free agents, because the Reds do rely on that money. All teams, for the most part, rely on that money. And Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon of The Athletic have reported that the Reds have interest in some big-name players that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but that they can't do much until these broadcasting rights are figured out. I would assume that they are going to be figured out this week, Joe, because we have spring training games coming up soon. They've got to figure out who their broadcast team is going to be. They got to make sure they've got all the people in place to do everything that they need to do, get all the branding right, all this other stuff. Like, people don't realize you don't just sign the contract and then you're on TV. Like, there are assets and things that need to be made for the broadcast. There are people who need to be told what position they're in, research that needs to be done, so many other things that make that, work like a well-oiled machine. And the fact that we are January 26th and there's no news about this is concerning. And it's not just the Reds. That's why a lot of other teams also have been kind of quiet over the last couple of weeks, is because they're waiting to figure out what's going to happen here. The last thing I'll say on this is there are rumors that they're going to do a 1-year contract with whoever, and then during the 2027 discussions between MLB and the players, a lot of this stuff is going to be resolved and figured out. Hopefully the MLB will be heading in a good direction with that. But Joe, where are you at on all of this? I've got my opinions. I just gave you guys the information, but I do have opinions on it as well. But I want to hear where you're at first.
Yeah, it's definitely a confusing thing because Main Street, as you said, Rob, out of bankruptcy, the deals that they are offering all these teams, I think there's 9 teams in total, like the Reds, is contingent on them being sold. So with that, it is a good deal monetarily for these Major League Baseball teams to take, but it could fall apart at the last minute because they're not sold. And it also is good because it's not just paying for the rights to the games, it's also a revenue split after that. So that can be really good for some of these small market teams, I think. The problem is, what if they don't get sold? And then you're kind of stuck holding the bag. And just like one of those things where maybe going and getting the sure thing from MLB Network and having that be set up would be the right call just because it's sure money. I don't know how it's going to go in terms of the sale for this company that is coming out of bankruptcy. I'm sure there's plenty of companies who would love to buy Main Street Sports and figure this out. But that's kind of where I'm at, is like, do you take the risk and take this, what seems like a better deal for Main Street Sports, but then you don't get the money right away because you're waiting for them to be sold, so you have to defer the payments, and then obviously that's going to hurt the Reds because they're, cash poor? Or do you take the money right now from MLB, even though it might be lower? So it's a tough thing. I mean, if I were the Reds, I'd probably, go with the sure thing with Major League Baseball, maybe renegotiate with Main Street when there's more, I guess, clarity. I don't think it's smart to sign with someone who may or may not be sold, who may or may not give you deferred payments later on, when this is a team that I think needs money, and clearly, again, cash poor, needs the money to go get players and needs the money to be competitive. And that's something that I don't think other fan bases have to deal with, because we have the poorest owners by by net worth right now in Major League, and probably in all of sports, honestly.
I think they're pretty close to being at the bottom of all sports.
Yeah, definitely Major League Baseball, but I think maybe all sports too. So, yeah, I think it's I think that's what I would do. I'd take the safe money from MLB and let the FanDuel figure it out, and then next year, if MLB figures it out, great. If FanDuel figures it out, great. Take the best offer then. I know it stinks to be more conservative with it, but I just don't know how much faith you can put in a company that has already, been going through this bankruptcy, and we just don't know what's going to happen, even if the deal does look good.
Well, and that's my problem is that you had Bally Sports, right, who then had to sell and get bought out by FanDuel, who's now, I guess, letting it go and letting Main Street Sports get bought out of their own thing. Like, that's what's confusing to me is we've had so many different things. We've gone from Fox to Bally to, FanDuel. Like, consistency, I think, is really important. And there is, something to be said. I mean, MLB is playing, 162 games a year. You are getting really good opportunities for local companies and everything else for advertising for 2 to 3 hours 162 times a year. I mean, if you take out the other broadcasts, like 145 or something like that, right? When Fox and Apple and all these other things are not taking over. But MLB has an opportunity to really bring things together, right, and make it really consistent, because I think a lot of people, even during like these NFL playoffs, right, have been really struggling because one game's on Paramount Plus and CBS, the other game's on Fox, the other game's on Peacock. Like, they're all over the place right now, for that. And the MLB has the opportunity to make the fans happy and try to pull something together. And I feel like they should be making a better offer for the Reds, because the MLB is making a ton of money. People don't realize that. Like, everybody's talking about baseball's dying, viewership's down. Viewership's actually up. And not just that, but baseball is making a ton of money because they operate for so long during the season, or during the year, every year. And so it's an interesting thing here, Joe. I really feel like the Reds, if they feel like they could go out and sign one of these big names that you and I are going to talk about, right? I think one in particular, and they think that they can do that with either deal, then just take the one that's guaranteed to be okay, just go with the MLB and be done with it. If not, right, and they really do think that they're going to make more money for, this other deal, then they can wait and take that. But if it's like, hey, the only thing that's holding us up from making this big deal that I think would be very helpful for the team is that, then just get it done this week, go get that player, and then the Reds are set, right? Like, for the most part. And so I'm hopeful, Joe, that they will get something done. I keep saying this week because I think it does need to be this week. I let me check. Spring training begins very soon. I think pitchers and catchers are going to report in like a week. Yeah, like
10,
a week.
10 days, 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, right? Because the first games are on February 20th. So we're less than a month away. Generally speaking, pitchers and catchers report like 3 weeks ahead of time, I think, and then hitters are like the week after, right? So you got to get something done, because you got broadcasts coming up here very soon. They generally will do that first game, Guardians, Reds, for the season. So I have to imagine something's going to get done soon. But this is it's really annoying at this point. And I think, the MLB needs to, I think, step in and just take this thing over let's be done with this conversation and just make it happen. But we'll see. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if you have any other thoughts. If not, we'll move on to the big Reds Fest news.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's very like I said, it's very unclear what's going to happen. So just stay tuned for how you're going to watch your Reds games this year. Hopefully, whatever they do is the best path forward. But it doesn't seem like there's a clear path right now with how uncertain the one offer is.
Yeah, and just know that we'll have that here. As soon as we know, we will tell you guys. We'll direct you to where you need to go to figure it out. So don't worry about that. Big Reds Fest news. It wasn't just that Elly and Noel V. Marte finally showed up. I didn't realize this, but they weren't on the original list, Joe, which is pretty wild. But like a couple days beforehand, they got added in, so that was good. And I'm surprised that this was talked about so openly at Reds Fest. But apparently, Elly De La Cruz was offered before the start of last season one of the largest Reds contract of all time. It was going to be north of the $250 million that Joey Votto signed. And Elly, which, he's got Scott Boras, Joe, but it was declined. Now, I didn't say for how many years. I would have assumed that was part of the problem, is it probably would have locked him up till he was close to 30 or something like that. And I'm sure Scott Boras was like, absolutely not. We are not going to be doing that. But it brings into question, after the rumors as well, that the Reds tried to do the same thing with McLean, couldn't get a deal done there. We have talked about it a lot, and this is something I've actually been thinking about a lot since this news came out, Joe, is you and I have specifically talked about lock in your young players, do what the Braves have done. There are more and more teams doing this on a regular basis. I think even the Royals and Bobby Witt got something done, if I remember correctly, too, Joe. Like, there are a lot of teams who are locking up their young, talented players. It's the new way. They're buying out arbitration years, giving them a little bit extra money there, but guaranteeing that they're with the team for more years. The Reds have, I'm going to say, technically they have 4 more years of Elly at least. I'm going to say closer to 3. If the Reds don't think they're going to get a deal done with Elly, I would not be surprised at all to see them trade him, honestly, to at least get something back for him in that 4th year or before that 4th year. But I'm just, even outside of Elly, at this point, Joe, I'm just wondering, are the Reds not going to be able to sign anybody? Like, what is going on that we can't get these younger players? That's the whole reason why I feel like we've been keeping our payroll so low. Like, maybe it's just that the Reds are in and they know that there's going to be a new floor or a new, cap ceiling, something like that coming with the negotiations for next year. So maybe they're banking on that. I'm really confused, Joe, and it really just doesn't make me feel very good, because while I am obviously sad that Elly doesn't sign, it makes sense overall, but like not getting McLean, not getting anybody so far to sign that deal outside of Hunter Green, which has been amazing for the Reds, I'm just concerned. I'm a concerned fan, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say one thing for the Reds. I am impressed that they are trying. I think past Reds would not try as hard to do this. They would wait until the last minute, and that's when the value of the player goes up. And I do think that offering McLean when they did was good. And I do think there's a little bit of agents not having the best interests of their clients at heart, because, I mean, let's just say, like, Elly maybe is a little bit different than McLean in this case. Like, Elly is going to make a lot of money in a couple of years when he is a free agent, right? Mm-hmm. And there is some security in signing right now. It's baseball, guaranteed contracts and all that. So if he gets hurt, he gets that money. That's awesome. But that's also the flip side for McLean of, like, he should have taken that deal, because right now his value is bad compared to what we thought it would be, right? So there, and at what point, Rob, like, even if he has a great season, he bounces back and, like, I don't know, he hits 280 with 25 home runs and 75 RBI, whatever it is, we still have in the back of our mind that, like, McLean kind of had 2 really bad years in a row, and is he going to keep that level of success, right? So he's already hurt his value. So if he would have signed that contract already, I think Reds fans would be left thinking, like, oh, maybe not. Like, oh, God, what do we do? What do we sign ourselves up for? So there's a good push and pull here. Now, what I will say, I don't like that this leaks. This was very open from the Reds front office. This is what they said. I think this pits them into, like, a way to get the fans to maybe turn on Elly, and I don't like that. Like, because I do think the smart thing for Elly was to turn it down, if this was an initial offer especially. But, like, let's talk about it. Joey Votto got this contract, 15, 16 years ago now? inflation is so much different now. Elly's WAR is, like, I would say so he played more games than Votto early in his career, but his WAR is higher. So I'd say they're comparable players, even though they are to play totally different styles of baseball. Joey Votto got to a higher peak. That's cool. Elly's been more available and had played through that injury last year, which may have hurt his numbers too. We don't know how good he could have been, honestly. Inflation is crazy. So it's like, oh, we gave him the biggest contract in Reds history. That is great. The last time we gave out the contract was 16 years ago, Rob. We couldn't drink legally. That's how long ago it was. So I don't like that it leaked. It would be cool if he wanted to sign this and have some stability for Elly. But I would expect him to turn it down. And it's kind of, like we said, like, Dodgers sometimes ruin the sport, man. They're getting everyone. And, like, if he could make that money now, or it's $300 million contract with the Reds now, or he can wait 3 or 4 years and then go get paid $500 million by the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees or whoever, then that is probably the smart play for him, as much as it maybe wasn't the smart play for Matt McClain. So moving forward, too, I think they should keep on negotiating. I think they should keep those negotiations behind closed doors and not have the fan base want to turn on Elly for turning out the biggest contract in Reds history. Who the hell else were we going to pay in the last 16 years, Rob? I don't get it. This is so weird that they did this. And, yeah, I do think there's a path where he does stay a Red. I also think there's a path where we trade him and get a haul. But if they do trade him and get a haul, is it the same thing ever? Like, we build up this team, we give these prospects, and then we trade them away, and then we go back and rebuild, and we trade them away. And, like, some of that is the cycle of being a small market team. But at some point, you have to put your foot in the sand, and you have to say, we're going to go for it. Especially for an ownership group that has promised us championship baseball and has not delivered in the slightest.
Not even close.
That's where we kind of sit. So I don't blame the Reds for not signing any of them yet, because it seems like maybe some bad information from agents in some regards, at least for McClain, maybe not for Elly. I like that they're trying. I'm very worried about them signing long term, and if they want to sign these guys, they have to up the offers, and they can't use these phrases like biggest contract in Reds history when it just doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. After 16 years of the last contract, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just weird to me. Like, we're about to head into arbitration for Elly starting next year. So, you know, he'll get ARB 1, 2, and 3, I think, guaranteed, and then maybe a 4, but I don't really see that happening. And, you know, the thing is that, like you said, I mean, I just don't understand what the ownership group is trying to accomplish right now by putting that out there. And like you said, like, the fans are already wishy-washy. I actually went to a wedding, as you know, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and I met somebody, well-informed, very smart individual, but they were somebody who did not believe in Elly at all, right? And was very glad that we, you know, didn't end up making that deal, because that news came out, like, right when I was at the reception. And in my mind, I'm like, it depends on the years. That's really what it came down to for me. Because if they're offering him like $300 million, right, that means that they are likely buying out ARB 1, 2, and 3. So you're getting those 3 years. And then are they adding 2 more years on that? Like, are they trying to pay this guy like $60 million a year or something like that, right? Which would be outrageous, but apparently that might be the market for him. I'm assuming they probably were trying to lock him up until he was like 32, right? Which would then be pretty bad for him, because that's his entire prime. And I think the Reds are just going to have to realize that if they want to keep Elly, right, A, don't have the fans get mad at him. B, you've already seen what his floor probably is right now, right? Because I generally have the belief, Joe, that between ages 26 and 32, most ball players are right around their peak for the most part, especially if they're Elly and they've kind of been up through the years. If not, then I think 28 to 32 is generally when they're in their peak. So peak years for Elly De La Cruz are still technically a few years off. He just turned 24. This will be his age 24 season, right? I don't blame him for waiting, and I don't think the Reds should be putting it out there. That's not going to put pressure on Scott Boras, right? He does not care about fan sentiment. He doesn't care about ownership sentiment. He just cares about getting the biggest bucks possible and the most years possible, the most security for his clients. He's good at that. I have heard more recently that the clients, if they do push for a certain city, he'll push for the best deal, but ultimately he'll still keep them in that city. That is a more recent thing, apparently, over the last few years. If Elly really wants to stay here, which I think the other problem is, guys, and people are going to hate me for saying this, I don't think he does. I don't think it's anything against the Reds, but I really think he loves the idea of playing in a really big city like LA or New York, and I think ultimately he'll either be a Yankee, a Met, or a Dodger. Maybe if the Angels get a ton of funding and they start having better players on a more consistent basis, maybe that would be it. But unless if he loses that desire to be in the playoffs every year, that desire to be, or at least in the hunt, I should say, every year, that desire to be in a big city, right, he's probably not going to stay here. So I just don't see what it accomplished. I mean, I guess maybe they're trying to show, hey, we're at least trying, but they shouldn't have done it at Reds Fest. They shouldn't have been so open about it. They should have just leaked it to, whoever the hell they want to, and then just let them take it and just let it be a rumor, but not something that was confirmed, like with McLean.
Yeah, the trying. We tried on Schwarber too, and we got outbid by a lot. Unless you want to believe in Bob Nightingale, who has his issues. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I'm kind of getting tired of like, oh, we tried. At some point, that runs out. Like, oh, I tried. I made an offer that was a lowball offer. You didn't really try. So, yeah, that's it. And I think you're right. If you can't get to a point where you think that even a contract extension is possible, the best time to trade Elly is now, because he has cost-controlled years. He is still very, very young. A team like the Dodgers or Yankees or Mets would trade for him, would extend him, and they would give us a haul back of players who can help us now and the players who can help us for the future. I know that's painful for Reds fans to say, but it's better than just letting him walk in 4 years or trading him in 3 years when the value goes down. So if they think there's an inkling that maybe they get something done, maybe that's why they leaked it, Rob, and I just don't agree with doing that, but maybe that's why they did. Maybe that's good, but and I've also seen fans who don't like Elly, and I'm like, I'm still logically, if you don't think Elly's going to be what he is, locking him up now is still good. You can always trade him.
Yep.
And if you don't like him, then trading him now is the best case. Not waiting 2-3 years to see if he's going to be good and can change your mind. I think he's good. I think he's worth a lot of money. And I've seen other fans be like, oh, well, Jose Ramirez just got like a 7-year, $175 million.
That is such an enigma, dude.
Jose Ramirez is 32 years old. He's making $25 million. They're saying, oh, Elly should get that contract. That's the same contract Elly should get. Jose Ramirez is better than Elly. Elly is way younger. Jose Ramirez is a better player right now. Don't get me wrong. He's awesome. He's 32 years old, making $25 million a year for the next 7 years, which may or may not be a good deal. But it's definitely not a good deal for someone like Elly, who's way younger. So fans who want to say oh, this is a better player, know the value of a young potential superstar who has played very well, but not up to star level. And that's just not going to be the case. So you're going to have to give up $300, $400 million to get this guy to sign. And that's all going to be fine when it's said and done for this Reds team, who have sold plenty of jerseys off this guy and just are going to make money. Just like we said with Schwarber, Elly is probably a more popular player in the national world than Kyle Schwarber is, I would say, just because of the young kids love Elly. Mm-hmm. Schwarber's probably bigger in this market, but I mean, just think about how much money you can make on that. So, like I said, it's not the same apples to apples thing with him and Jose Ramirez. It's not the same apples to apples with him and anyone else in the league. It's this is a very unique situation with a potential young superstar, and I would love to get a deal done. And even if it doesn't work out, and taking the risk, you can trade him. It could hurt the franchise in the future, but for a franchise that has not seemingly been all in, I mean, the 2020 year was something. It was, I don't know if it was all in, but it was something. But probably not all in since at least in the last 10, 12 years.
Since Votto was in his prime. That was the last time they really tried. When they went out and they got Matt Latos and they got Sean's, what's his name, who I consistently forget his name, the lefty.
Marshall.
Thank you, Sean Marshall. I can always remember the Sean part. They went out, they got Ryan Ludwig, Scott Rowland, right? They went and they moved pieces and they moved heaven and earth to try to make the team really good. And they were really freaking good, man. I still can't believe they didn't make it past the first round, but that is what it is. I'm gonna real quick, and then I'll let you finish us up here on this topic. But I'm gonna try to be fast on this. Here's where I'm at with this, right? If you can pitch to Elly, hey, look at all these great all-time Reds. Look at how beloved you are here, right? Look at you're going to have to face so much more scrutiny, right? He's a bit more of a quiet person, right? In generally speaking, the New York and the LA media, they eat those types of people up. Ask Sonny Gray, right? Like he has come out, he has talked about that very specifically, right? Well, I know things are a little different now, but when he came from New York to the Reds, right? He's never going to have a team love him the way that Cincinnati will, right? Like that's just a factual matter. Like it doesn't matter where else he goes. We're the ones who brought him up. Cincinnati has seen him thrive. He has brought back fun baseball during a time when people were losing hope, in the Reds completely. They are now competing. They almost made the playoffs 2 years ago when he went on his run. They just made the playoffs this last year. He is clearly the star for this team, and he doesn't have to share the spotlight in Cincinnati with anybody, right? So if you can pitch him that and say, hey, we're still going to pay you as close to market rate as we can, right? But we'll help you get endorsement deals, all this other stuff, right? We're going to make sure that you are plastered everywhere. We're going to build winning teams around you the best that we can. Then that's what will sell him. Because that's the reason why Jose Ramirez has been sold. He's been a top 10 player, top 15 player for most of his career, Joe. He has taken hometown discounts because the Cleveland Guardians, Indians, whatever, they were in his timeline, right? Since they've made the change. All of those years, the Cleveland organization has shown to him, right, that they are willing to build around him, that they are willing, they can win even with a lighter budget, right? Because they're constantly in playoff contention. They're building the team right. They are marketing him correctly. He is being shown so much love, and he has come out and said specifically that he's taking lesser deals because he loves being in Cleveland. If Elly becomes that kind of a person, then Elly is going to stay, right? And it's not any indictment on him. I just mean, like, if he's somebody who's happy with being, like, the guy for a city, right, instead of being one of the top guys for a different city, right, and is okay with a team that may make a playoff run every so often, then... and he's making good money. Again, he's not going to be criticized heavily in, some of these other markets. Then he's going to stay. But if not, then I would say give it 2 years. I would say this year and next year, let them make runs. If they build the team around him, they're going to be good. They think in that third year from now, so that'd be 28 season, that they realistically have a chance at a World Series, then keep him. If not, then he'd have 2 years of control. That's, in my opinion, would be the best time to trade him is over the 27 offseason. That's when you'd get your biggest haul because you'd have 2 full years of control left on him. They'd be able to renegotiate his contract, and then you're still not giving up, 2 chances because they are building something, right? They are pitching to people like Emilio Pagan that they're going to go and make a run, right? They are pitching to Schwarber, whether or not they're going to pay everybody else, that they're going to make a run, right? So... yeah, I made that as quick as possible, but those are the reasons why Jose Ramirez has stayed. And if they can do the same thing and convince Elly of the same thing, right, then he might stay. He might be a lifelong Red, right? You posterize that and you say, hey, man, you can be the Johnny Benches, the Barry Larkins, right? You got Barry Larkin, who's been in his ear, who's been on his side since day one. Larkin's been talking about him since the Reds basically signed him. Right? Like, he's been one of the guys pushing for him. If you can get those kinds of guys in his ear and convince him that this is actually the place he wants to be, and he can vacation during the offseason, in a warmer climate wherever he wants to go, then that's fine. But that would be it for me. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I think he just has such a superstar mindset. Not even an ego, but I think he just loves being in the spotlight to be in the big moments.
Yeah, and I do think he seemingly loves LA. He's made those comments before and after Dodgers games before. LA's the city and all that, so that's definitely something to consider. But I do think that if you like you said, Rob, if you build something here, the spotlight can be here. We could be on national TV games if they build around Elly. He is that good of a player. Just haven't done it. And I think it's fair for Elly to, at this point, have turned down that contract to say, let's keep negotiating. This is what I want. And as long as he and Scott Boras are direct and honest about it, and honestly knowing that, hey, your value could go up or down based on how you play these next couple of years, that's fine. But he should also be, like you said, hey, before I'm going to sign here long term, I want you to sign better players around me. Because to be quite honest, the hitters that we've had around him in his career have been dog shit. They're like, in terms of others' teams and what they can put around star players, he doesn't have people who get on base before him as much. He doesn't have people who can protect him behind him. It is hurting his stats. Also, like I said, the injury hurt his stats, but I think that does too. Like, TJ Friedel is our leadoff hitter. He hit 261, 364 on base percentage. That's,
It's fine.
That's fine. It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not great. And then we've had issues with the 2-hole last year. Obviously, with Matt McClain starting there and then moving everyone around. 2-hole doesn't always get on base for him. And then you kind of look at, like, we didn't have anyone who hit home runs behind him. Spencer Steer had 21 home runs. We was the second on the team behind Elly. This is like the supporting cast around Elly in terms of his lineup does not help him produce stats to be the superstar that he can be. The injury that hurts, and I just think that's like, if they go, and that's why, like, Rob, I know we're not going to talk about this specifically, but like, for me, I don't care if they get an average hitter, someone who gets on base before him, because that's going to help him out as well. I would like to get a power hitter too, but get both would be ideal to get people on base for him, but also get someone to protect him. That's how you create this good offense. That's how you create this team that he might want to stay with. It's like, hey, I don't have a guy like, bless his heart, Spencer Steer. I do like him. 238 batting average and 21 home runs batting behind me, or Austin Hayes who's always injured, or whatever it is. That doesn't produce the offense in total for a team to make the team better, but it also doesn't help his individual stats, and I think that's something to note is, like, the stats that we see with Elly, I think he got better, cutting down strikeouts and everything last year. The power was down, but that's obviously injury-based. But, like, he is doing this without the help of those things, with people getting on base for him, without people protecting him, and that also needs to be taken into account. So if I were Elly, I'd be saying, hey, this is the number I want. Let's work towards it. We'll see what my value is after the season or whatever. But also put someone on the team that can help me get to this offense going, man. That's been the biggest frustration for us fans. But I could totally see Elly as a player being like, hey, man, people can just pitch the fuck around me because there's no one else who's really going to threaten them. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, and we saw he got better at taking walks last year, too. I know that he had basically the same amount, but I felt like his at-bats were stronger overall. So I agree with you completely. We will see what happens with Elly. We will know soon. I really do believe that. I think if he doesn't sign a deal over next offseason for an extension, I think you should just enjoy him while he is here, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Look, the Reds can only do so much when you have a guy who could quite literally be the first billion-dollar player. I don't think it'll happen, but with the way the MLB is going right now, if things do not slow down, he is that kind of player. I mean, Kyle Tucker got way more than I think anybody thought he would get average, per year. I still think he's an amazing player. I think he's way better than he showed last year, but good Lord, the Dodgers just didn't care. They were like, hey, yeah, we're going to pay you $1 million technically in your salary this year, but we're going to pay you like 40 or 50 million, whatever it was, in just a signing bonus, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that's how it goes. So, yeah. Now we move on to the trades and the rumors. I just put this in here, Joe. Luis Robert got traded, by the way, not to the Reds. He did go to the Mets. The Mets did have to give up a pretty good prospect, like a solid one, but I still think the Reds could have taken a chance on him, but I think they may have something else in mind, which I'm hopeful for. But so he is off the market. We can no longer talk about Luis Robert. This is the last time we will mention him until he plays the Reds in a Mets uniform, hopefully. There has been a lot of interest, apparently, in starters right now. Starters are the new talk of the town over the last week and a half or so. Yankees, Mets, everybody is looking for starting pitching help right now because the free agent market is not as good. The Reds, they got starters. The rumors are that people are checking out the Reds pretty consistently. Is there a starter that you would trade, Joe? I'm going to name the 6 that I think are likely starters for the year. You've got Hunter, Abbott, Lodolo. You've got Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, and Brady Singer. Would you trade any of them? Do you think any of them would even bring back the return that the Reds would be looking for in terms of a true MLB ready left fielder is probably what they would need to get for it to be worth it?
So, yes, I would trade someone. I think that I would trade Singer, and the value for him is not as good as the other guys. But the whole thing with the Reds is the payroll thing, and he makes 12.75 million this year, right?
Yep.
So I would trade him. I still think you could get something back for him, and I also think you save money when you do that as well. Then you can go sign some of these bats because hey, oh, we don't want to sign these bats because of the TV contract we just mentioned. Oh, well, here's 12.75 million. Go get 2 or 3 bats for that price, or one better bat for that price. That would be ideal. And I think based on the recent trade where the Nationals sent Mackenzie Gore to the Rangers, where they got 5 players. Now, Mackenzie Gore was an All-Star last year, Rob. He's a lefty, if that means anything to you. That's the thing is like they were able to get 5 players for him. He was an all-star, but he finished the year with a 4.17 ERA and a 5-15. I know records don't matter, but still 5-15 record, 4.17 ERA. And I still think he was a solid pitcher. But we talked about how maybe he shouldn't have been in the All-Star game. Maybe there's other guys that shouldn't. Maybe some of our guys should have been in the All-Star game. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get the same haul that we got from Mackenzie Gore, but I do think if we trade Brady Singer, you save the money. You keep all your young guys because we honestly don't know what the ceiling is for all these guys. Like I would love to keep Chase Burns, although I think the value of trading him would be a lot better. And I would love to, keep Brett Lauder because I don't know if you saw, Rob. I think someone said he was 83rd on the prospects, top 100 prospects list now. And that's, I mean, for me, that's pretty low because he was pitching well when he was here and he just got hurt. He just got moved down for injury reasons. So I like all the guys we have, all the young guys we have. I'd love to keep them. I get if you want to trade one of those guys for a star player, Lodolo, Abbott, or Green. I would just much rather clear up the caps or clear up. I'm thinking football here. Clear up the money from trading Singer and go use that on players who can help right now because I think that's the best path forward to keep your elite pitching, but also add some hitters if you have that $13 million to spend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the issue. Is I think the problem is the Singer's just so consistent, and with a team that's had the injury history of the Reds, it's like. Oh, man, I almost wish that they could negotiate it and restructure his contract so that they could spread that money out but give him more years and a little bit more money, right? Because I think he's the perfect guy. He's like your Bronson Arroyo from the last time the Reds had a good pitching staff, where you just knew he was going to go out there, get it done. Some days he's going to strike out 12, other days he's going to be out in the second inning, but he's going to start every 5th day, and I think that that's something that the Reds really desperately need, especially because we don't know what's going on with Lauder. I agree with you, by the way. I think Lauder is criminally underrated right now. I do not understand. I think it's just the hype has come down off of him, to be honest with you, because I think aside of this injury, he doesn't have mechanics that generally will make him somebody who's very injury prone. He's not an overthrower or anything like that, right? So I think he could be your guy that could start every 5th day moving forward in this lineup. I just it's crazy to me to think that Brett Lauder could be our 5th best pitcher, and I think he'd be a number 2 or a number 3 on a lot of staffs with his potential as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's really tough for me if I would actually give up Singer because I think that they're just leaning so hard into pitching and defense that you want to keep as many players as you can. Now, I think maybe if they wanted to move one of them, by the trade deadline, right, that one I might be a little bit more open to. But there has been one name that has come up, Joe, that I would definitely consider maybe packaging Singer and some prospects with, or maybe doing Lauder, because I'm not getting rid of Burns. I think Burns has the opportunity to be an absolute, super stud. Right, we're talking. I just said that I think Lauder could be a number 2 on some rotations. I think the Reds with Hunter Green, Chase Burns, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo. There are very few top 4s of a rotation that I would take over those 4 heading into next year and the year after. Honestly, especially when healthy. But a name that's come up recently, Joe, is C.J. Abrams. If the Nationals are selling. And C.J. Abrams is a guy who is fast enough, who can absolutely go out into left field. He's still only 25 years old. And he was near the top 10. I think he was 12th. Yeah, 12th in doubles last year with 19 home runs as well. A ton of stolen bases. You could grab him And he would be an awesome two-hole hitter and somebody who's very easily able to adapt to left field. And he would be the guy that if they were to trade for somebody who I think you'd still be getting somebody who's young. I'm going to check to make sure before I say this for sure, but I believe that he is under contract as well for a bit. Let me make sure I grab this correctly here. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Where is he at? Yeah. He's only in arbitration 1 himself, so it actually would line up perfectly with the way that the Reds are doing things, which is like around 2029, 2030, when they'd have to potentially reset things if they needed to. His salary is only $4.2 million for the year. They'd be able to save some money, and they'd be able to potentially go and get another hitter if they were to make this deal. You'd have to add a couple prospects to this deal. I think he would probably take 4, like 4 players overall, maybe 3. But if you were to trade one of those players, specifically, if they wanted to do a salary dump of Singer, you could ship him to the Nationals with 3 guys, one of them being Edwin Arroyo, probably, maybe even Petty as well, Chase Petty. But I think you could do that, and then you would get your guy who's here with you for a couple years. You could get him in the left field. That would be the type of deal that I would be willing to make right now, and somebody who I think is on the rise for sure and ready for a really good year this next year, and especially on a team that is very, very clearly trading away their best players, even young guys like Mackenzie Gore. So I wanted to throw that out there with this. I do think they should consider it if it's something like that. But otherwise, if they're built on pitching and defense, you need the best pitching and defense that you can have. And while Singer is definitely overpaid right now for what I think the Reds can afford, not for what I think that he is worth, then, yeah, I mean, having your 5th starter as your number 1 contract on your team doesn't really feel great. But it's still what they should do if they're going pitching defense, to be clear. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he's valuable, and I would love to keep him and say, hey, let's go spend money on free agents. Even with the payroll we have now, we just saved $3 million with the Gavin Lux trade. Let's go use that and plus more money to go sign free agents or trade some prospects for some bats. I don't think the C.J. Abrams thing is crazy. If they wanted to talk about James Wood, I don't think they're going to trade him either.
Oh, if it was James Wood, that would be a different story. I'd be like, give them a lot of things. Yeah, that's fine. Go grab him. You stick him behind Elly De La Cruz, I think Elly would stay for a guy like James Wood. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to, again, I didn't think they were going to trade Mackenzie Gore, but, James Wood is a couple years younger, so I think they'll probably keep him, but who knows what they're doing. I don't know what the Nationals are quite doing. It's like, but I think like an ultimate scenario, like, yeah, let's go spend more money. Let's go trade prospects, players that aren't on this team to make this team better. I don't know if they're going to do that. So if you're going to say, like, if we are going to trade a pitcher, I'd love to trade Singer because of the flexibility it gives us. It is a risky move. Don't get me wrong. I do think you need to take some risks to get to where you want to be. And I think that would be one that I think would be like, oh, well, we have a bunch of injured guys. You need to stay healthy. But I think with that trade is if you do trade Singer, couple things. You have that money to work with to sign the bats like we talked about. There are plenty of free agent pitchers who can do something similar. I'm not saying they're as good as him, but can do something similar in terms of eating innings and being a consistent arm. I'm going to list some guys that are currently free agents, whether good or bad. Chris Bassett, Lucas Giolito, Nick Martinez, Jose Quintana were at least free agents as of like 4 days ago. I haven't checked the updated list, but
they have not
guys
been
like
signed.
Guys like that who I don't think would cost as much as Brady Singer this year going into it, especially because some of those guys are pretty older. A lot of them are 35, 36 years old. That's what I would say is like, if we aren't going to go above the payroll right now without giving something up, the easiest thing to give us the most flexibility is trade Singer. I would personally like to keep Singer. I would love to have that stable veteran there. But I do think that we could trust the young guys and go get another innings eater elsewhere if we had to give up someone from this team right now. But I don't want to mess up anything. I want to keep the pitching staff the way it is. I want to keep the bullpen the way it is. I want to keep the position players we have on the roster. I want to keep where they are for now. I do think the move is trading prospects and or just spending money. I just don't know how willing the Reds front office is to actually do that.
Yeah, me neither. But there are options out there, for sure. There are players out there that the Reds could go get, and we'll have to see if they will do it. Because the latest rumors, Joe, are that the Reds have been in contact with these three players: Miguel Andujar, Austin Hayes, and Eugenio Suarez. Now, I'm going to speak on the first two. If you're going to grab one, you might as well just go grab the other, is my first mindset. I think you'll be able to get them both under contract for the amount of money that the Reds would need. I think they both liked being here. I think Miguel Andujar gives you a solid, DH that can play third occasionally, that can play left field occasionally. I think Austin Hayes would be an upgrade over JJ Bleday. If Hayes starts to struggle mightily against righties or if he just really needs a break, I think JJ Bleday is a perfect guy to put in there instead of him, for some relief options. My problem is just like, man, like you go and you get Miguel Andujar and Austin Hayes and you are literally basically running it back, right, with a better bullpen, which is fine. I mean, it really is. You're getting, Matt McClain back healthy. You're getting a full year of Sal Stewart. So they are technically better, right? Yeah, they really are. But I don't know, man. Like, what does that really do? You can get one of them, but I feel like if you get one, you got to get both, just because of the fact that, like, if we have to see Miguel Andujar in left field all season, Joe, like, oh my lord, I think I might keel over, honestly. And it's not because he's gonna hit fine. He's just not very good defensively. I mean, it would be worse than Gavin Lux, I think, maybe.
No, I think it would for sure. This is what makes it so interesting, is that they told Sal Stewart to focus on first and third this offseason. That's what he said in the MLB TV interview, right? That to me screams, we probably are moving Spencer Steer left. And I know he played well defensively, but the easier move is to say, hey, why don't you try to help on defense at second too? Because we don't know what Matt McClain's going to give us, right?
I think they believe in Matt. Sorry.
I think they did too. I don't know if that's the right move, to be honest. I mean, I hope it is, but now you're setting yourself up to where if he's playing first and third, you have a guy in Steer who played pretty good defensively, but I don't really like him as a first baseman overall, just because of how many scoops did we see that were messed up, whether it's Elly or his fault. Something's got to change, and it doesn't seem like they're changing Elly. So maybe Steer's moving to left, Sal Stewart plays first, and then Andujar DHs. I'm cool. Again, I like your idea. I want to sign Andujar and Hayes. I think it's good to have Andujar mash lefties. I think if Hayes can stay healthy, he did provide us some really good moments. It wasn't the most consistent, but I think he'd be good too. But that's kind of my thought, is like, I don't think signing these guys hinders your defense. I think you can put them at DH, because either Steer's playing first and Sal's playing DH, and these guys are playing left, which isn't for Andujar is not the greatest. Hayes is fine. But that's kind of what I think. It doesn't change anything. Like, for me, it's like it helps your offense, but it doesn't change the defense too much, because while I do like Spencer Steer's overall defense at first, like I said, the scooping is bad. So that's what I think is, like, I don't know why else they told Sal Stewart focus just on first and third, because there's just so many other options that we could use him at. So I think that would be a good move to bring both back. When Andujar has to play, he's DH. When Hayes has to play, you can still keep him in left field and keep Steer at first.
I like Steer at first base. I think he just needs the opportunity to actually be able to lock it down there. I mean, he was a Gold Glove caliber first base, even with some of those issues you're talking about. I mean, if he actually is like, hey, we're going to commit to you at first base, and he gets to just sit there and actually play first base almost every day, right? Like, with the understanding that that's all he needs to work on, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if you're getting a guy who's going to hit, when healthy, 25 home runs at first base this year, I don't have a problem with it. He's good defensively as well. Like, I think, again, their idea is pitching and defense. Their best defensive infield is Spencer Steer at first base, Matt McClain at second, Elly at short, and Ke'Bryan Hayes at third. What I'm confused by, which I agree with you, is why would they just tell Sal first and third when Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to be your everyday third baseman? They did not trade for that contract for him to not start. I mean, he just won another Gold Glove. Like, I don't understand that. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And again, like, Sal's probably fine at first base, and he may be the long-term, option at first base. I think that they should just DH him. and then use him in at first, at second, and at third in off days for those guys, so that then he can still keep getting the at bats and get some of the playing time there to do those things. He's lost some weight. Maybe, once we get to spring training, they're going to try him out in left field and see how he does. I don't really remember how great his arm is, but if he's a little bit faster and he can track balls well, maybe that's what they're going to do. I mean, it's just really frustrating because they got rid of Gavin Lux because they said there's too much redundancy. Now they're talking Miguel Andujar and Austin Hayes, and it's like, unless Andujar is going to play DH every day, and like you said, they're going to kick Spencer out to left field, I don't get it, man. I mean, I don't know. It's just such a weird situation for me. Like, we'll move on in a minute to the last guy that I think we need to take a very serious look at, because I think that he could theoretically be the better option than Miguel Andujar, but I don't know, man. Like, it's so tough. Like, just go freaking trade for a left fielder, man, or just get like a real left fielder. There are still some options. Like, I don't know. It's just weird to me. I don't love it.
That's like I said. That's the confusing part. Is they told Sal Stewart specifically first and third, and like I said, he's not gonna, because Brian Hayes is not moving.
No.
And first base seems to be the more open thing. Again, Spencer Stewart's fine. I do have issues with those plays. I do have issues with a 5'7" first baseman, to be honest. Especially when we don't have a power hitter.
Ouch.
That is a position.
Ouch.
That is
He's
a position where
taller than 5'7", probably.
Okay, you look it up and see what he's listed at, and then we'll take 2 inches off like everyone else does. But yeah, but like it's a position for power hitters. He was our second best power hitter, but that's a position where we also could go get someone to be a hitter as well. So that's I do have a little bit of issue with Spencer Steer at first base. I think that's an option to put him in left field. But again, it's not. You're right. Like defensively, in terms of stopping ground balls, he is fine. It's the throws that really matter. It's the power hitting that really. Just a position that you can kind of stash someone there historically, and it seems to work pretty well for a lot of people. And to be clear about my comments earlier, I want to give Matt McLain the chance at second base this year. But if we're sitting here 2 to 3 weeks in and it seems like it's much more of the same, even a month in, man, like we almost missed the playoffs last year and we backed our way into it because of the Mets. But we have to win early games. We can't sit here and be like, oh well, we got to give Matt McLain 3 weeks to figure it out. Like. I hope he figures it out. I hope he's our everyday second baseman. I hope he's a star with Elly, and we talk about these guys for 10 years to come. But we've already burned 2 years. And some of it's because of injury, too, but, the best ability is availability. If he doesn't play well, then that changes the whole dynamic of, okay, Sal Stewart, you are playing second base because we don't have another option. Steer, maybe you're at first, and then those guys play left field and DH. That's where, like, the Lux trade, I think, does leave us a little bit vulnerable, like I mentioned earlier. If McLain still has those issues with the shoulder, or if he just isn't the same. But I do want to give him that chance, I think, is the main thing. I want to give him the chance to start the year there, see how he does the first 2 to 3 weeks, and if it's not working, then make that change. But yeah, that's with these guys. It's not like it's re-signing these guys. Both of these guys is the bare minimum we can do for this offense, I think. And if we don't at least do that, get those 2 guys, then it's, I would say, somewhat of a failure from the front office. Even though we improved the pitching and everything, that's great. But the big issue with this team was offense, and we took a giant step back and are just saying, hey, baseball gods, please let Matt McLain be better than he was last year. Hey, please, baseball gods, let Brian Hayes hit better. Please, Sal Stewart, please step up and be for this to all work, Sal Stewart has to be a freaking star this year. So that's kind of like, I don't get clear messages from the Reds right now about what they want from these guys and who they're going to sign and how that's going to fit defensively. Other than Matt McLain's going to work out and Sal Stewart is going to play DH and Spencer Steer's going to be at first, and then we'll just have to suffer through some Andujar left field moments, which, again, the defense in the infield is great. Defense in the outfield is kind of still questionable because Marte's still learning the position. Friedel is fine. Left field is just a big question mark.
Yeah, or maybe they can go out, and another thing I've seen is Byron Buxton in center field for the next 2 years, and you move TJ to left, which would make them actually a pretty above average outfield at that point. But I will say what's really funny is maybe they just play Matt McLain in June. He's a June hitter, apparently. I just looking at some of these splits here.
Maybe he moves out to left field.
I mean, I've wondered that too. Like, I know he's not tall, so like people kind of worry about that in the outfield being able to scale stuff. But he's super athletic. He's more than quick enough to pick it up, and he's got a solid arm. Like, I think he'd be fine in left, but that has just not been discussed. Like, it feels like the Reds are kind of like, hey, he's going to be 2023 Matt. And, you know, I mean, look, if the guy hits 270 and, you know, hits 25 home runs, okay, that's fine. He can play every day. I don't care. You know, it's got to be this year for Matt. You know, I think the injury, it's so sad because that injury is significant. I could spend an entire episode talking about Matt. I'll give the 30-second down low on it. That is a huge injury. That takes well more than a year to really come back from, because it takes a year to come back and a year to strengthen it. I really think if he's going to figure it out, it's going to be this year. I really believe that strongly. I think the Reds do too. Excuse me. He is a hard worker. I think he's a much better player than what he showed last year. I think, you know, he started playing better in June. It was just that first month that he was atrocious. You know, he gets a little worse throughout the year, but I think that's just conditioning and stuff as well. And it's just he hasn't had the opportunity to learn how to fix all this stuff because he's only played basically, you know, a year and a half season. Like, it takes longer than that to be great at baseball, right? And so I know people don't want to wait for him. I understand that. I generally believe that he's going to be better next year, and it's going to be because he's had a full regular. He even said it at Reds Fest. I'm having my first regular offseason as a professional player. That is so much bigger than people realize. I mean, really and truly. Not everybody can be Spencer Steer where nothing phases him. That man was hurt, played through it, figured it out somehow during the middle of the season, and then went on a tear the last, 2 months. So, he just doesn't seem to get phased by stuff and can battle through things. McLean just might not be that type of guy, but he's still, I think, better than people are giving him credit for, and he's still only 26 years old. Like I said, I think 26 to 32 is when you hit your prime. I think McLean can be that solid guy for us, and we'll have to see what else they do. The last guy we needed to talk about, though, Gino. If they're worried about paying him, I get it, but, the amount of jerseys he will sell in year one coming back to Cincinnati will be, think about all of the City Connect jerseys that you can sell with Eugenio Suarez on them, Joe. It's so many. People love Gino. Jim Day, you do a Jim Day segment every single week with just Gino and Jim, something like that, right? They're going to sell so many things. And I get that he's not the same hitter that he was even when he left. But dude, the guy still hits for power. He still drives in a lot of runs. He still is only going to hit 220 or 230, maybe 240. He is going to strike out a pretty significant amount of times. But he has had 100 RBIs the last 2 seasons. He had 96 the season before. When he plays at least 155 games, he's going to drive you in 100 runs. Right? He has hit 32, 22, 39, 49 home runs. He is still only 33 years old. Joe, that is insane to me. This man has an opportunity to hit 500 home runs in his career. He legitimately does. He could be a guy who could be a sneaky potential, you're going to have to really think about if he's going to make a Hall of Fame or not because of the amount of home runs that he's hitting currently and could be on pace for. I think if he's healthy, I don't see any reason why he can't be a guy who can come in and be your true 35-plus home run hitter. I mean, and he's really even found his power stroke since he's left Cincinnati. I mean, the ballparks that he's played in that he still hit 30-plus home runs in and driven in, 100 RBIs in, he's still hitting, 30 doubles as well. I mean, his OPS is near 800 or more every single season. That would be just an outstanding person to have behind the Reds. I mean, a lineup of TJ, whoever you want to put there in the 2-hole, maybe it's Sal, but probably not. Elly, then Suarez, and then Sal probably, something like that. That is terrifying for hitters because you got to pitch to Elly because if you don't, there's a 1 in 10 chance that Eugenio Suarez is going to hit a bomb off of you. That sounds great to me. And he would fit in right at DH. You can play him at third occasionally when you need to, or if you want to. If Key Bryant is just unplayable at third base, you can move him to third, because he's actually been okay defensively too. He's gotten better as he's aged. So I think you could easily get him for 3 years. I think you could throw him $20 million and feel a lot better about it than if you had thrown $20 million at Luis Robert.
That's for sure. Would be cool with Gino. The same thing we said earlier, the defensive fit and the DH thing becomes a lot more nebulous if you sign him. And maybe that is Spencer Steer moving to left field at that point. And that's fine. Again, I'm cool with that. The offense would be a perfect fit. And I think that's what you have to consider now, because, again, the offense is the thing we have to improve the most. We talked about what it would take to be a more perfect offense for Elly, but even for this team, I think it's important to say we needed a power hitter behind Elly to protect him. If, say, that gives you options for the number 2 spot, because Friedel will be the leadoff hitter unless something goes terrible this year, right? Number 2 hitter, does Matt McClain bounce back and bat 270, 280? Does Sal Stewart keep on hitting the ball like he has all last season? Is he the number 2 hitter? Does Marte become the number 2 hitter with how impressive he was last year? That gives you options to make this a good lineup where Friedel, fine leadoff hitter, still long-term, I think we need to find something there. But for this team and moving forward, that's fine. 2-hole hitter, does one of those 3 guys pan out? Elly at number 3, good season last year, more power this year when he's healthy. Someone behind him who protect him. And then you go to Suarez. And then you go to the guys who don't fill in the 2 spot and right behind him. That would be the perfect fit. Now, will they do it? I don't know if they want to pay that much money, but we just saved $3 million on the Lux trade, right? If they do trade Singer, that's $15 million out of the 20 to 25 projected million per year that Eugenio Suarez is going to get. So that's how you math it. That's how you get all the math in and get the Reds ownership on board. Is then we're only paying Eugenio Suarez $5 million more than what we were paying.
And he'll make that in jersey sales alone.
Right, Singer and so that's where it is. There's a pathway to do this. If you're asking me, is it fine if they sign Andujar and Hayes? Yes. Is it better if we get Gino as things are currently constructed? Yes. If we give up Singer and get Gino, still makes the offense a perfect fit. And yes, you are risking it with those guys, our young pitchers, staying healthy. But can you get Rob? That's the thing. Is can you get Gino and go find a guy to eat innings? That's all you need at that rate, is someone who can come in and help these young guys. A veteran guy who can just eat innings, and I think that's all possible if you do it that way. So, yeah, I think Gino would be ideal. And again, we would just have to be ready for some of the major slumps that we saw at the end of his tenure with the Reds when he started hitting for more power and kind of abandoning the gap power that he had and just going for straight power. And I think that's something that could be a couple bad weeks of baseball if Elly and him are slumping at the same time. But the good times where it's going to be people have to pitch to these guys would outweigh that too. So I'm on board with bringing Gino back. If you got to trade Singer to do it, to open up some more money to spend, that's fine too. It would fit awesome offensively, and we will figure out the defense because we have enough guys to help figure that out.
I'm going to throw you one thing here. Here's what they do. They do that. Justin Verlander. I mean, he'll go out and he'll pitch. He'll go out and pitch every 5th day. And not just that, he'd have no pressure to do anything other than just be solid.
You know what? There's some of these guys.
I'm throwing. It's a joke, but it could be. He could work.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is there are guys out the 4 pitchers like Giolito and all those, Quintana, Martinez, who's probably not coming back, but good locker room guy and can eat innings if we needed him to. Just not at $20 million a year like last year. Justin Verlander's still out there. Max Scherzer said he wants to play, and he's still out. He had a bad year last year, but I'm not going to bet against Max Scherzer bouncing back or whatever either. Just as a guy to eat innings. So there's guys out there that can eat the innings, and I'm sure I would rather have Singer, but if it really is a money issue, okay, well then you take a step back on the guy eating innings, but you get a better power bat. That's a trade I'll make every day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even Herman Marquez, I know he was hurt, 2 years ago, but I mean, take a chance on him. He'll go out and throw every couple days. Actually, I'm not. I was looking at earlier stats for him. Never mind. He had a 6 ERA last year. You can put him in the minors if you want to, but. I mean, and they're also getting Brandon Williamson back. I know people don't want to hear that, but like he was honestly pretty solid when he was healthy. I don't mind him as your sixth starter. There are guys out there. I mean, Michael Kopech, Martin Perez, Griffin Canning, Jose Quintana, like you said. I mean, there are guys, Eric Fetty even, like who can just go out, eat innings, have like a 4.5, 5 ERA. Is it the best? No, but your offense is better. And by the time that they would be kind of like that bridge, right? Because you'd really only need somebody to start, theoretically a couple games until Louder was like really and truly ready. You move them down to AAA. You bring in, Louder, and you just let him do his thing. I think you can do that. You just need like if you're gonna trade Brady Singer, you just need somebody else who can just in case. You just need a break in case of emergency button, really and truly. But
yeah, what about this? If something happens, we get injuries. It's not like we don't have guys in the bullpen who could be starters. Still, like Graham Ashcraft, we'd love to keep him in the bullpen. Why don't we move him back to starter too?
You can do that too.
You're right, Brandon Williamson as well. Like there's like
Julian Aguilar is still a top prospect for the Reds technically. So
yeah, I don't want to make it seem like you can just throw anyone in there, but like with the guys with some experience in doing that, and we're talking like Rob earlier this show, we talked about how Luis May might not even start the year on the MLB roster, right? I mean, if injuries, I'm just saying, if injuries happen and disaster happens, move Ashcraft back to the starting rotation until things get figured out, until people get better, and then move Luis May up from AAA to the major leagues. Like, is that a too steep of a drop off for the bullpen? It's like not as good, but it's like that's a doable solution. So like,
you're hitting enough home runs for it to be worth it if you get Geno.
Right. I'm just saying like the depth. If we're gonna if you trade Singer, you only do that if you're gonna get a power bat. I don't want to undersell what Singer does for us because I do think he's better, but I would rather have the power in the offense than what Singer brings if it's going to be someone who's worth it, I guess, at a certain level. And Suarez would be.
I love it. I mean, I feel like that's just – there are options is what we're saying, Reds fans. I know we've gone a little over, but that's because there was while there was a lot of – it's all small things. There's a lot to talk about over these last 2 weeks. Like I said, we're going to be moving to weekly again, so we'll have – more opportunity to talk about some of these things, but they've got to just go do something. And it needs to come down to the TV deal getting done so that things can move forward. So, yeah, I don't know what else there is to say at this point, Joe, but what I'll say to you is before we head out, as always, we need your wise words, your amazing facts that you're going to be able to bring us.
All right, so a couple things here. A UFC fighter. I'm not a UFC guy, Rob, but a UFC fighter, Waldo Cortez Acosta, was signed by the Reds, and now he's a UFC fighter. He had an ERA of 16. That was on Reddit. I don't remember the username right now, but you can go check out what they have to say about him. That was kind of interesting. John Sadak is making radio calls for the NFL playoffs, and he is doing an electric job. He's worth watching. He works for CBS in terms of for college basketball, CBS Sports Network. He's fun watching on that as well. So top 100 players list in Major League Baseball. The Reds had 3, Elly, Hunter Green, and Andrew Abbott. I'm excited. Well, I expected Elly and Hunter Green to get on there, but excited Andrew Abbott is on that list. Not a guy that people talk about a lot and sometimes gets snubbed from different things. And then what is the last 2 things here? We have the Reds. Oh, so last thing. Reds CEO Phil Castellini announces the partnership with Xavier University, making them the official university of the Cincinnati Reds. Goes to a basketball game. It's booed. There's columns written by people in the Inquirer saying we need time to forgive Phil Castellini. People, don't give up. Put the pressure on. We need a freaking bat. We need some offense. Keep on booing him until he puts a roster on the field that is worth cheering for. I thought that last year was a good step, but if we don't take a step forward this year, go boo him. And let's go have a good year. Let's go sign this bat. Let's go keep the pressure on the front office to make this team better.
I completely agree. You got to put it on him, and he's got to be the one that makes the deal, dude. You can sell a part of the team, get millions of dollars, and still be okay. Like, that is just wild to me that he is still not even considered that. But yeah, we'll have to see what else happens here in the next week. We're really excited to be back. Reds fans, there are things that are going to happen, I think, over the next 10 days. I tweeted it. I said, like, over the next 2 weeks, sometime late last week. I still very much believe that things are going to start moving now that Kyle Tucker has been signed. Trades, moves are coming as teams start to finalize their rosters for spring training. But that is going to wrap it up for us here on this Reds Rundown. So, from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys on the next one.